There are places in this world that defy explanation, structures that stand as silent sentinels to a past we can barely comprehend. How were they built? Who made them? And what became of the societies that carved these impossibly massive stones or raised these enigmatic walls? We stand on the precipice of a new understanding, inviting you to journey with us into the profound depths. So, sit back, relax, and let the gentle currents of history carry you to a place where myth and reality merge. Beneath the swirling surface of the world's oceans, shrouded in mystery and the hushed echoes of countless millennia, lies a global enigma. Across vast stretches of seabed from the tempestuous Atlantic to the tranquil Pacific, divers and researchers are uncovering patterns that refuse to conform to simple explanations. These aren't just scattered debris or natural rock formations. These are structures, alignments, and apparent constructions of staggering scale, hinting at a lost age. We speak of submerged cities, monumental architecture, and what appear to be entire metropolises silently resting in the cold embrace of the deep, defying our understanding of history. They are the silent witnesses of a forgotten past, hidden beneath the ocean's surface, challenging every conventional theory we hold dear about the origins and progression of civilization. The mainstream scientific view has long held that such findings, while intriguing, can almost always be attributed to natural geological processes. Submerged rocks and formations are often explained as naturally eroded coastlines, ancient sea caves collapsed over time, or even the result of tectonic shifts that create uncanny, linear patterns. Furthermore, it is widely accepted that during the last ice age, sea levels were significantly lower, and as the glaciers melted, vast stretches of coastal land were inundated. Therefore, any discovered structures are generally presumed to be ancient coastal settlements, built by early humans we already know about, who simply adapted or moved inland as the waters rose, their simple dwellings slowly succumbing to the encroaching sea. These are not, the mainstream argues, evidence of an unknown, advanced, global civilization. But there's a profound problem with this explanation. While many submerged features undoubtedly are natural, or indeed represent known coastal settlements, there are a growing number of sites that simply do not fit this convenient narrative. The uncanny precision of their angles, the apparent tool marks on colossal stones, the sheer scale of some formations, and perhaps most baffling, their astonishing depths, far beyond what simple post-ice age sea level rise can account for, all cast significant doubt. We are not just seeing rudimentary shelters, but what appear to be planned, organized complexes, demanding a level of engineering and social cooperation that goes far beyond what we attribute to the hunter-gatherer societies or even early agriculturalists of those ancient periods. These are structures that suggest deliberate design, immense effort, and a knowledge of building on a monumental scale. Theories attempting to explain these impossible submerged structures range from the subtly revisionist to the truly mind-bending. Some researchers believe that our understanding of post-ice age sea level rise is incomplete, perhaps involving rapid, cataclysmic inundations that swallowed entire populations almost overnight, leaving their sophisticated cities frozen in time beneath the waves. Could it be that specific geological events, perhaps linked to shifting land masses or even asteroid impacts, caused areas to subside far more rapidly and deeply than previously imagined, carrying entire civilizations with them? Other, more speculative ideas suggest the existence of a highly advanced, unified global civilization that flourished before the last glacial maximum, possessing technologies and knowledge far surpassing what we currently credit to ancient peoples. What if these sites are not just scattered remnants but pieces of a grand, interconnected network, a testament to a world that existed long before our accepted historical timelines? And then there are those who dare to whisper of extraterrestrial influence, or even that these enigmatic sites are evidence of humanity's true origins being far older and more complex than we have ever dared to imagine. If these structures are indeed artificial, if they are the silent, drowned vestiges of human ingenuity, what else about our history do we not yet know? What profound knowledge or ancient stories lie entombed in the deep, waiting for us to decipher their silent language? This persistent presence of complex, ancient structures beneath the ocean forces us to profoundly challenge the conventional theories of civilization's origins and progression. For generations, the accepted narrative has been a linear one. Humanity began as primitive hunter-gatherers, slowly and painstakingly developing agriculture, then rudimentary settlements, and finally, around 5,000 to 8,000 years ago, giving rise to the great river valley civilizations of Mesopotamia, Egypt, and the Indus Valley. This progression assumes a gradual accumulation of knowledge, a slow climb from simple tools to monumental architecture, culminating in the complex societies we recognize today. The idea of advanced urban planning or large-scale engineering existing much earlier is, within this framework, considered an anomaly, an impossibility. But the sheer antiquity and sophistication suggested by some of these submerged sites present a but moment of monumental proportions. If these underwater structures, often dated tens of thousands of years ago, are indeed the work of human hands, they utterly shatter this established linear timeline. They suggest the existence of highly organized societies, capable of complex planning, advanced engineering, and perhaps even monumental construction, not just at the dawn of recorded history, but at a time we still largely attribute to nomadic hunter-gatherers. The very notion that sophisticated urban centers could have flourished during the Ice Age, or even before it, fundamentally overturns our textbooks, our archaeological assumptions, and our understanding of human intellectual and societal capabilities. This isn't just a minor adjustment to dates. It's a complete paradigm shift, suggesting that the dawn of civilization may have happened not once, but multiple times, or that our entire timeline is drastically incomplete. Theories attempting to reconcile this profound discrepancy are diverse. Some archaeologists are now cautiously exploring the idea of lost intervals in human development, periods where advanced cultures may have risen and fallen without leaving obvious terrestrial traces, perhaps due to dramatic climatic shifts or cataclysms. Could it be that human innovation is not a constant upward curve, but rather a series of peaks and valleys with knowledge gained and then catastrophically lost, only to be rediscovered millennia later? Other researchers propose that the traditional definition of civilization itself is too narrow, perhaps overlooking forms of advanced social organization that didn't leave behind pottery shards or written tablets, but rather monumental stone works submerged beneath the waves. What if these structures are evidence of a pre-agricultural civilization, a society that achieved complexity through means we are only beginning to imagine, and that ultimately vanished? If our understanding of civilization's origins and its journey through time is incomplete, how many other chapters of humanity's story have been erased, drowned beneath the ocean's surface, waiting for us to rediscover them? These submerged metropolises stand as true silent witnesses, ghosts of a forgotten past, hidden beneath the ocean's surface. They are not merely interesting archaeological finds. They are testaments to lives lived, cultures thrived, and perhaps worlds lost. The haunting presence of geometrically aligned stones, colossal carved blocks, and what appear to be planned settlements on the seabed evokes a powerful sense of wonder and melancholy. These aren't the simple, ephemeral traces of early human activity. These are sites that suggest permanence, purpose, and a profound connection to their environment, now irrevocably lost to the depths. Could there truly be highly advanced civilizations lost to the ages? Civilizations that built on a scale we previously thought impossible for their time? The conventional historical narrative struggles with the concept of truly lost, advanced civilizations on this scale. While we acknowledge the disappearance of some cultures through conquest or natural disaster, the idea of an entire advanced civilization vanishing without a discernible trace, leaving only submerged ruins, is often relegated to the realm of myth. Mainstream history prefers a continuous, traceable lineage of human development, where every major leap in technology or societal complexity leaves clear, unambiguous evidence on land. Any large submerged settlements are typically assumed to be understandable within our existing historical framework, representing coastal communities gradually claimed by the sea, not advanced societies that simply vanished. But the but moment here is profound. The scale, the apparent planning, and the sheer technological ambition hinted at by some of these submerged structures, a vastness that suggests not just settlements, but entire cities, beg the question of what kind of society could have created them, and how they could have disappeared so completely. We are looking at formations that hint at a sophisticated understanding of engineering, astronomy, and perhaps even geomancy, far beyond what is attributed to ancient peoples of 10,000, 20,000 or even more years ago. These aren't just collections of stones, they are potential blueprints of lost cultures, challenging us to consider if advanced societies existed, thrived, and ultimately fell in ways we have yet to comprehend. The alternative theories are compelling in their speculation. Could these silent witnesses be the remnants of legendary places like Atlantis, or the Pacific continent of Mu, tales once dismissed as mere fiction, now gaining new credence? Some researchers propose that these sites are evidence of civilizations that developed unique forms of technology, perhaps utilizing sound, crystals, or even forms of energy we have yet to rediscover, allowing them to carve and move immense stones with ease. What if these societies, living in harmony with the planet, possessed knowledge that was not based on our modern industrial model, but on a deeper understanding of natural forces? And perhaps the most unsettling question, what if their disappearance was not gradual but sudden and cataclysmic, a warning from the deep about the fragility of even the most sophisticated human endeavors? If entire advanced civilizations could be lost so completely beneath the waves, what else has been erased from our collective memory? And what does their silence truly tell us about the cycles of rise and fall that might govern human history? The profound call from the deep grows louder with each new discovery, inviting us to reconsider everything we know. The persistent emergence of these impossible structures, these ancient drowned metropolises, is more than just a series of archaeological curiosities. It is a fundamental challenge, a resonant echo from a forgotten age that compels us to look beyond the comfortable confines of our established history. The deep, dark waters are not just concealing ruins. They are guarding secrets, urging us to question, to explore, and to embrace a more expansive view of humanity's past. The mainstream academic response, while acknowledging the existence of these sites, often attempts to fit them into existing historical frameworks. It suggests that while these discoveries might push back some timelines or broaden our understanding of early human capabilities, they do not fundamentally alter the core narrative of a progressive, linear development of civilization. The emphasis remains on verifiable evidence, demonstrable technologies, and a slow, steady advancement from simplicity to complexity. The call from the deep, in this view, is merely an invitation to refine our current historical models, not to shatter them. But the but moment here is crucial. The accumulating body of evidence, the sheer scale and consistency of similar anomalies across the globe, the dating that pushes back human ingenuity by staggering spans, and the undeniable sense of complex design present a collective challenge that is increasingly difficult to contain within our current paradigm. This isn't about minor adjustments. It's about a profound, almost existential re-evaluation. The call from the deep is not merely to revise, it is to fundamentally reconsider the very foundations of our historical understanding, to acknowledge that perhaps we have overlooked entire chapters or even entire books of human experience. Alternative theories suggest that this call from the deep is an invitation to embrace a cyclical view of history, where advanced civilizations rise and fall, knowledge is gained and then catastrophically lost, perhaps repeatedly over vast geological timescales, Could it be that the ocean, in its vastness and mystery, is the ultimate archive, preserving truths that the land has long forgotten or buried? Some believe that these discoveries are prompting us to look at ancient myths and legends, tales of floods, lost continents and advanced beings, not as mere folklore, but as fragmented memories of a cataclysmic past. What if the profound call from the deep is a warning, a reminder that even the most advanced societies are not immune to the forces of nature or to the passage of time itself? As the vast cold waters continue to yield their secrets, unveiling new possibilities with each passing year, are we truly ready to answer their profound call and to embrace a history far richer, far older, and infinitely more mysterious than we have ever dared to imagine? The journey has only just begun, and so our quiet journey takes us eastward across the vast Pacific to a place where the ocean guards secrets that could unravel the very fabric of our accepted history. For beneath the waves, off the southernmost Ryukyu island of Yonaguni in Japan, lies a structure so monumental, so impossibly geometric, that it has captivated and confounded explorers and academics alike since its discovery. This is the Yonaguni Monument, a submerged enigma that beckons us to ponder its true origin. Discovered quite by accident in the mid-1980s by a local diver named Kihachiro Aratake, who was simply looking for new places to observe hammerhead shark. The sight that greeted him was unlike anything he or anyone else had ever encountered in the natural world. Resting on the seabed at depths ranging from 5 to 25 meters was an immense, stepped structure stretching for hundreds of meters. It appeared to be composed of incredibly flat surfaces, sharp angles, and what seemed to be terraced steps, all carved from the bedrock. It was a colossal, seemingly man-made pyramid or fortress, submerged in the azure waters, a silent witness to a time long forgotten. Its sheer scale, the apparent precision of its lines, and its distinctly non-natural appearance immediately sparked a global debate. Was this a natural geological formation, or the remnants of an ancient, lost civilization? The mainstream scientific community, ever cautious and grounded in known geological processes, leans towards a natural explanation. Geologists examining photographs and sonar data suggest that the Yonaguni Monument is primarily a product of natural fault lines and the erosive power of the ocean. They argue that the island of Yonaguni itself is located in an earthquake-prone region where tectonic activity could create cracks and fissures in the sandstone bedrock. Over millennia, powerful ocean currents acting on these natural weaknesses could then carve away the softer rock, leaving behind the more resistant sections in shapes that merely appear to be man-made. This process, known as tectonic erosion or natural fracturing, can, under specific circumstances, produce remarkably regular and angular features. They point to known examples of naturally occurring geometric rock formations around the world, such as columnar basalt or wave-cut platforms, where nature itself crafts shapes that might, at first glance, seem artificial. The argument suggests that the sandstone, being relatively soft, could have been shaped by these relentless forces of nature into terraces, steps, and flat surfaces, creating an impressive yet entirely natural spectacle. For many scientists, the idea of a lost civilization with the means to carve such a colossal structure millennia ago and then have it sink is simply too extraordinary to accept without overwhelming. Irrefutable proof of human intervention, but there's a problem with this explanation. A nagging doubt that persists when one truly examines the intricate details of the Yonaguni Monument. The features here seem to go beyond what typical natural erosion would achieve. Consider the uncanny precision of the structure. We find not just straight lines, but lines that run for dozens of meters with an unnerving accuracy, terminating in sharp, undeniable 90-degree angles. There are multiple step terraces, almost like grand staircases, some appearing to be perfectly symmetrical, leading to wide, flat platforms. How could the random forces of water and seismic activity sculpt such consistent, orthogonal geometry on such a monumental scale? Furthermore, observers have noted what appear to be perceived carving marks and unique design elements that challenge the natural formation hypothesis. There are triangular depressions, perfectly cut grooves, and what some interpret as drainage channels. On one large flat surface, there are two precisely parallel deep grooves running side by side for a considerable distance, as if cut by a colossal tool. Could nature truly be so precise, so deliberate in its sculpting? Divers have reported seeing what look like giant reliefs, including one often referred to as the turtle, and another resembling a face or figure seemingly carved into the rock. While these could, of course, be pareidolia, the human tendency to see familiar shapes in random patterns, their placement and perceived context within the larger structure raise intriguing questions. Then there are the ramparts and stadium-like curved structures that seem to frame sections of the monument. These features, along with what some believe to be a massive stone road or pathway, suggest a level of organized design and engineering that pushes the boundaries of natural explanation. It's not just a single anomalous feature, but a collection of interconnected, highly regular elements that, when viewed together, present a compelling case for intelligent intervention. If it were merely one straight line or one sharp angle, the natural explanation might suffice. But the sheer density of these geometric regularities, the apparent consistency of design across a vast, submerged area, strains the credulity of a purely geological origin. Dr. Masaki Kimura, a marine geologist from the University of the Ryukyus, has spent decades studying the site and is a strong proponent of the artificial theory, pointing to these specific details as evidence of human modification. He speaks of what appear to be tool marks, drill holes, and even carved animal figures that suggest more than mere geological happenstance. If the Yonaguni monument is indeed man-made, what kind of society possessed the knowledge and tools to carve such a colossal, monumental structure thousands of years ago, and for what purpose? This opens the door to a fascinating array of alternative theories, each more speculative than the last, yet each offering a potential solution to this profound enigma. One prominent theory connects the Yonaguni monument to the legend of Mu, a hypothetical lost continent in the Pacific Ocean, popularized by the writings of James Churchward in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. According to this theory, Mu was a vast civilization that stretched across the Pacific before a cataclysmic event caused it to sink beneath the waves, taking its advanced culture and technologies with it. Could Yonaguni be a surviving outpost, a remnant of this ancient, forgotten empire, a final testament to its builders' skill? If Mu existed, its inhabitants would have possessed technologies and engineering capabilities far beyond what we currently attribute to civilizations of that era. They might have mastered techniques for moving and shaping colossal stones with ease, perhaps even harnessing unknown forms of energy or employing sophisticated acoustic levitation methods. The age of the Yonaguni monument, estimated by some to be at least 10,000 years old based on sea level rises, placing it firmly in a prehistoric era before any known complex societies in that region, aligns with the timeline often ascribed to the sinking of Mu. It could have been a city, a ceremonial site, or perhaps even a massive quarry from which the builders of Mu extracted their materials. The sheer scale and geometric complexity would then be a mere glimpse into the grandeur of a civilization lost to the deep. Another possibility suggests a highly advanced, indigenous ancient Japanese maritime civilization, perhaps predating even the Jomon period, which is already considered one of the earliest known cultures in Japan, dating back over 10,000 years. What if this ancient culture, far from being primitive hunter-gatherers, possessed an advanced understanding of engineering, stonework, and seafaring that has simply been lost to the annals of time? Such a civilization could have built this monument as a temple, a fortress, or even a sophisticated port. Imagine a society with the means to meticulously carve and shape hundreds of thousands of tons of rock, perhaps using tools we have yet to discover or even conceive of. Their methods might have involved a level of collective organization and a profound understanding of geology and geometry that would rival, if not surpass, many later-known ancient civilizations. The sheer effort required to create such a structure, even if it were partially modified natural rock, speaks volumes about the capabilities of its builders. Perhaps this ancient Japanese civilization was in fact a highly developed island culture, perfectly adapted to the ocean, capable of monumental feats of underwater construction, and whose legacy was tragically submerged by rising sea levels at the end of the last ice age. The purpose of the Yonaguni monument also remains deeply speculative. Was it a temple aligned to celestial events, where ancient rituals were performed? Its elevated flat platforms and stepped terraces certainly evoke the grandeur of a ceremonial center. Or could it have been a defensive fortress guarding the approaches to a now lost landmass? Some have even suggested it was a massive quarry, meticulously worked to extract building materials whose geometric regularity simply reflects the organized efforts of extracting stone. The sheer size of the structure implies a population with significant labor resources and a sophisticated social structure, capable of orchestrating such a monumental undertaking. The true identity of the Yonaguni monument remains fiercely debated, a tantalizing puzzle beneath the waves. If it is indeed a natural formation, it represents an extraordinary, almost miraculous quirk of geology, a testament to nature's capacity for creating deceptive regularity. But if it is, as its most ardent proponents suggest, an artificial creation, then it forces a radical re-evaluation of human history, pushing back the timeline of sophisticated architecture and complex civilization by thousands of years. It asks us to consider a world where advanced societies flourished and disappeared long before our textbooks tell us they began. What kind of society thousands of years ago possessed the capability to carve such a monumental structure from the very bedrock of the ocean floor? And what else were they capable of that remains hidden from our view? From the monumental precise steps of Yonaguni, we turn our gaze eastward across vast oceans to a warmer, shallower embrace of the Atlantic, where the whispers of a forgotten age seem to echo from the very seabed. It is here, off the northern coast of Bimini Island in the Bahamas, that an equally perplexing anomaly lies submerged, inviting us to ponder the very limits of what we thought possible for ancient civilizations. Imagine, if you will, an underwater pathway stretching for hundreds of meters beneath the turquoise waves, composed of massive, meticulously arranged limestone blocks. This is what has come to be known as the Bimini Road, a puzzling formation that to many seems less like a natural phenomenon and more like the deliberate creation of intelligent hands. Discovered in 1968 following intriguing predictions from the renowned psychic Edgar Cayce, the Bimini Road immediately ignited a fervent debate. Divers exploring the shallow waters found what appeared to be an impossibly straight, remarkably uniform line of colossal rectangular and polygonal stones, some weighing many tons, extending over 800 meters. The sheer scale and apparent order of these formations immediately struck observers as highly unusual, bearing an uncanny resemblance to a paved road, a defensive wall, or perhaps even a monumental breakwater. The individual blocks, some reaching lengths of over 4 meters, fit together with a surprising degree of regularity, creating what seems, from above, an unmistakable man-made structure. The eerie precision of their alignment, almost perfectly straight for such a significant distance, feels deeply out of place in a natural underwater landscape, leaving many to wonder if they had stumbled upon a forgotten secret of the deep. The sight of these submerged giants, lying silently under the shifting light of the sun-dappled sea, evokes a profound sense of wonder, a feeling that we are looking upon something truly ancient, perhaps even legendary. For some, the explanation for this astonishing underwater feature is quite straightforward, rooted firmly in the familiar principles of geology and oceanography. The mainstream scientific view attributes the formations of the Bimini Road to natural processes, specifically the formation and erosion of what is known as beach rock. Beach rock is a sedimentary rock formed by the cementation of sand, shell fragments, and other debris by calcium carbonate, typically found in intertidal zones in tropical and subtropical regions. As this material hardens, it can form extensive, relatively flat slabs. Geologists propose that these slabs, once formed, can then break apart due to a combination of factors: tectonic stresses, wave action, tidal currents, and the natural jointing patterns that develop in sedimentary rocks. These processes over long periods are believed to sculpt the hardened beach rock into blocks that, at first glance, might appear to be man-made. The argument suggests that the apparent regularity is merely a coincidental outcome of these natural forces, a trick of perception that lends order to random fracture patterns. Furthermore, proponents of the natural explanation point to other examples of angular or linear beach rock formations found elsewhere in the world, suggesting that the Bimini Road, while perhaps a striking example, is not entirely unique in its geological origins. They maintain that the deep currents and the relentless ebb and flow of the ocean have simply shaped these rocks in a way that mimics human construction, a powerful testament to the artistry of nature itself. They propose that the specific conditions of Bimini created an ideal environment for beach rock to form in such a way, and then subsequent erosion merely accentuated the linear appearance, making it seem like a deliberate construction when in fact it is purely a product of time and elemental forces. But there's a persistent problem with this entirely natural explanation, a series of lingering questions that refuse to be easily dismissed. While beach rock certainly exists and can indeed form angular shapes, the Bimini Road possesses an incredible regularity and an almost uncanny sense of design that challenges simple geological attribution. Consider for a moment not just the straightness of the main line of stones, but the sheer uniformity of the individual blocks. Many are remarkably rectangular, with surprisingly sharp angles, appearing almost cut to size rather than fractured by random natural processes. How could wave action or natural jointing consistently produce such massive, near-perfectly shaped blocks and then arrange them in a continuous, straight line stretching for hundreds of meters, and in some sections even multiple parallel lines? Some researchers have noted what appear to be apparent cut marks or even grooves and holes that seem inconsistent with natural erosion. These are not merely random fractures. They possess a suggestive precision. Think too of the sheer weight and size of these individual stones. Moving and positioning blocks weighing many tons would be an immense engineering feat even today. For nature to spontaneously generate and then arrange such colossal components into a linear, structured formation over such a vast distance seems, to many, to stretch the bounds of coincidence beyond credulity. The consistent depth at which the formation lies and its specific orientation further fuel the skepticism regarding a purely geological origin. While similar beach rock is found in the Bahamas, few, if any, other examples exhibit this level of consistent mass, precise alignment, and linear extent. It's the combination of all these factors, the immense size, striking regularity, the straightness, the apparent squaring of blocks, and the sheer length that makes the natural explanation feel, for some, incomplete. The "but" moment here isn't a single flaw, but rather an accumulation of subtle details that collectively paint a picture of deliberate design rather than random chance, urging us to look beyond the immediate geological explanation and consider something far more intriguing. The way certain stones appear to interlock or fit into specific patterns presents a geometric puzzle that nature, in its chaotic beauty, rarely seems to solve with such precision. This remarkable precision and linear arrangement, defying the usual randomness of nature, has led many to explore far more speculative and intriguing alternative theories. The most prominent and perhaps most captivating connection, draws directly from ancient legends and prophetic utterances. Could the Bimini Road be a silent submerged path leading to the legendary lost city of Atlantis? The story begins even before the road's official discovery. In 1938, the American clairvoyant Edgar Cayce, known as the Sleeping Prophet, made a series of astonishing predictions while in a trance state. He spoke of parts of Atlantis rising in the area of Bimini around 1968 or 1969. When the Bimini Road was indeed discovered in 1968 by J. Manson Valentine, a marine biologist and member of the Association for Research and Enlightenment, Cayce's organization, the timing seemed almost impossibly coincidental. This immediate synchronicity fueled widespread excitement and lent an air of mystique to the underwater discovery, forging an indelible link between the enigmatic stones and the fabled lost continent. The very nature of the Bimini Road itself seems to resonate with Plato's descriptions of Atlantis, a highly advanced civilization with sophisticated engineering capabilities. If this truly were a construction by Atlanteans, what might its purpose have been? Theories abound. Some researchers believe it could have been a ceremonial pathway, an ancient avenue leading to a grand port or a significant temple that now lies buried deeper beneath the sands or further out in the ocean. The sheer breadth and solidity of the road would certainly suggest something monumental, not merely a utilitarian path, but perhaps one intended for grand processions or significant rituals. Could it be a part of a massive defensive wall, designed to protect an ancient coastal city from the relentless forces of the sea? The size of the block certainly suggests a structure built for endurance and strength, capable of withstanding the immense pressures of both land and water. Others have proposed it might have been a quay or a breakwater, an integral part of an ancient harbour system that serviced a thriving Atlantean metropolis. Such a structure would have been crucial for docking large ships and protecting a busy port from oceanic storms, requiring the kind of advanced construction techniques that seem to defy our understanding of the ancient world. The idea of a lost civilization building such a structure raises profound questions about their capabilities. How did they quarry and transport such enormous stones? The technology to move and precisely position multi-ton blocks underwater, or even on land thousands of years ago before it was submerged, would have been extraordinary. This points to a knowledge of engineering, hydraulics, and perhaps even acoustical levitation. Technologies far beyond what is commonly attributed to humanity thousands of years ago. Could this enigmatic underwater path be a silent guide to a lost world, a tangible clue pointing towards the existence of a highly advanced culture that existed long before recorded history? The sheer audacity of such construction, if man-made, forces us to re-evaluate the entire timeline of human technological development. The very concept suggests that there might have been a global, or at least a highly advanced regional seafaring culture capable of monumental construction, building structures that later succumbed to rising sea levels or catastrophic events. What if the builders of the Bimini Road were part of a widespread, sophisticated network of ancient mariners whose knowledge and ingenuity we have only just begun to glimpse beneath the waves? Some propose that the precise alignment of the stones, particularly if considered alongside other geometric anomalies observed, might even hint at an astronomical purpose, a calendar or an observatory connected to the stars, a common feature in many ancient megalithic sites. The profound implications, if this is indeed a man-made structure, extend far beyond just confirming a legend. They challenge the very foundation of our understanding of humanity's past, and so the Bimini Road remains, suspended between two worlds. A geological marvel shaped by the slow, inexorable hand of nature, or a profound, enigmatic whisper from a civilization long lost to the mists of time. Is it merely a beautiful trick of nature, a coincidental arrangement of ancient beach rock? Or is it something far more significant? Could this puzzling underwater formation be a remnant of a grand, Forgotten civilization, perhaps even a path to Atlantis itself, beckoning us to reconsider everything we thought we knew about the origins of human ingenuity. The deeper we dive into the mystery, the more questions arise, leaving us with a sense of wonder and a yearning to understand the true story of this submerged enigma. Our journey through the submerged past has led us to enigmatic pathways and perplexing stone alignments, each one a silent question etched into the seabed. Yet, as profound as the mysteries of Yonaguni and the Bimini Road may be, there are whispers from the deep that speak of an even more ancient and sprawling secret, a discovery that could fundamentally reshape our understanding of when and how civilization truly began. Far across the globe, beneath the swift currents of the Gulf of Cambay off the western coast of India, something truly extraordinary emerged from the shadows of the ocean floor. It was in 2001, during a routine pollution survey by India's National Institute of Ocean Technology, that sonar instruments began to trace a sprawling, intricate pattern beneath the waves. What unfolded on their screens was not the chaotic geology of the ocean bed, but something far more ordered, far more deliberate. The sonar images depicted an expansive rectangular grid, a vast interconnected network of structures stretching for miles at a depth of over 120 feet. It looked unmistakably like the remains of a city. Imagine, if you will, the sudden appearance of perfectly straight lines, right angles, and geometric forms where only the undulating contours of natural terrain should exist. The initial scans revealed what appeared to be street layouts, large rectangular buildings, and even indications of a massive citadel wall. There were features that suggested an organized layout, hinting at an urban plan on a monumental scale. This wasn't merely a few anomalous stones. This was an entire landscape remade by deliberate design, now silently awaiting rediscovery. Beneath the churning waters of the Arabian Sea, the sheer expanse of these submerged structures hinted at a society capable of significant construction and urban planning. Naturally, such a monumental discovery was met with a healthy dose of scientific caution. The deep ocean is a realm of strange acoustics and peculiar geological formations, and sonar can sometimes play tricks on the unwary observer. Oceanographers and geologists initially reviewing the data raised understandable questions. Could these regular patterns be a trick of erosion on natural rock formations? Perhaps unique fault lines that mimic human design? Or even, as some suggested, the lingering imprints of an old fishing village somehow exaggerated by the sonar's interpretation? The initial reactions leaned towards skepticism, suggesting that further, more direct evidence would be needed to substantiate such a groundbreaking claim. The ocean floor, after all, is littered with natural features that, at a cursory glance, can resemble artificial constructs. It is a world of immense pressure and shifting sediments, where the hand of nature can sculpt with a surprising degree of precision. The prevailing view among many archaeologists and historians was, understandably, reserved. To suggest a large, organized urban center existed in this region at significant depth required pushing back the timeline of known Indian civilizations by thousands of years. The established archaeological record for this part of the world, while rich with wonders, did not include anything of this age or scale. Mainstream science, ever cautious, demanded incontrovertible proof before rewriting entire chapters of human history. They questioned the resolution of the sonar, the interpretation of the structures, and the very premise that such a sprawling complex could have existed so far back in time. But as more detailed surveys were conducted and specific targets within the vast grid were investigated with higher resolution equipment, the doubts began to waver. The patterns were not isolated anomalies. They were consistent, repeating across the vast expanse. It was not a single street or building, but a complex, interconnected layout. More critically, subsequent expeditions to the site utilizing remotely operated vehicles, ROVs, and direct dredging began to retrieve physical evidence from the seabed. These weren't mere rocks or natural sediment. They were artifacts that unmistakably bore the marks of human hands. Among the recovered items were pottery shards, pieces of finely crafted stone tools, beads, and even sections of timber. This physical proof was a game-changer. It moved the conversation beyond the mere interpretation of sonar anomalies and into the realm of tangible archaeological finds. The regular grids and discernible building outlines, once dismissed as geological quirks, now had supporting material evidence lying directly beneath them. This wasn't merely a suggestion of human activity. It was a clear indication of a settled, structured presence. The timber, in particular, offered a powerful clue, promising a way to bridge the gap between speculative sonar images and concrete historical understanding. The very act of recovering these artifacts from such depths, amidst what appeared to be ancient ruins, pushed the narrative from possible natural formation to highly probable man-made site. Even before the full implications of the recovered artifacts were understood, the sheer scale and apparent sophistication suggested by the sonar data sparked considerable speculation. Could this be an unknown localized coastal settlement that simply succumbed to rising sea levels, much like other drowned villages around the world? Some pondered if it might represent an early yet undocumented maritime culture, perhaps one that predated the great river civilizations we typically study. Was it a vast fishing port lost to a sudden subsidence? Or perhaps a ceremonial complex built by a culture whose very existence was erased from our historical memory, leaving only these silent, submerged foundations? The idea of a substantial, organized community at such a depth, if proven man-made, hinted at a level of societal organization and technological capability far beyond what was conventionally attributed to ancient peoples in this region. Researchers began to consider the possibility that India's coastal history was far richer and deeper than previously imagined, with entire epochs of human development currently missing from the historical record. The implications, even at this early stage, were profound. A potential missing link, a hidden chapter in the story of civilization, lying silently beneath the waves, waiting to tell its tale. The physical evidence, while exciting, brought with it a cascade of new questions. If these were indeed human artifacts found amidst the ruins of a city, how long had they been there? What kind of civilization built such a place, only for it to be swallowed by the sea? And crucially, what era did it belong to? The ocean had yielded its secrets in fragments, but the most vital piece of the puzzle, the one that would truly challenge our historical narratives, was yet to be revealed. The dating of the recovered materials would prove to be the linchpin, determining whether the Gulf of Cambay was merely another interesting archaeological site or something truly revolutionary. And so, the quiet, meticulous work of science proceeded, as samples of the recovered timber and other organic materials were prepared for radiocarbon dating. What the laboratories would reveal would not only confirm the site's artificial nature, but would propel it into a category of its own, forcing a profound re-evaluation of human history. The results, when they finally came, sent shockwaves through the scientific community. The radiocarbon dating of the timber fragments recovered from the Gulf of Cambay site delivered an astonishing age, approximately 9,500 years old. This was not merely ancient, it was profoundly, almost impossibly, old. For context, the generally accepted dates for the earliest known cities, such as those in Mesopotamia or the early settlements of the Indus Valley civilization, typically fall within a range of 5,000 to 7,000 years ago. The Gulf of Cambay site, if its age and artificial nature were confirmed, would predate these by thousands of years. It spoke of a time when humanity was, according to our established understanding, still largely engaged in nomadic hunting and gathering, or perhaps just beginning the very first hesitant steps towards settled agriculture. This wasn't an isolated anomaly from a single piece of wood. Multiple samples taken from various locations within the submerged complex consistently return dates in this breathtakingly ancient range. The artifacts themselves, the pottery, the tools, while not directly datable in the same way, were found in stratigraphic layers consistent with this astonishing age, nestled among the very foundations of the supposed city. This convergence of evidence painted a picture of a flourishing urban centre, complete with sophisticated planning and construction, existing at a time previously thought to be devoid of such complexity. It was a discovery that demanded not just a minor adjustment to history books, but a potential wholesale rewrite. To fully grasp the magnitude of this date, we must briefly recall the conventional narrative of human development. For generations, our understanding has been one of a relatively linear progression. After the last ice age, around 10,000 to 12,000 years ago, humanity gradually transitioned from a Paleolithic hunter-gatherer existence to the Neolithic era. This period saw the slow, painstaking development of agriculture, the domestication of animals, and the eventual rise of small permanent villages. The invention of writing, the wheel, metallurgy, these crucial advancements are typically placed much later, converging into the first great urban centers and empires of Mesopotamia, Egypt, and the Indus Valley, beginning around 5,000 to 7,000 years ago. According to this widely accepted timeline, 500 years ago the idea of a vast organized city with geometric layouts and sophisticated construction was simply beyond the realm of possibility. Humanity was still too primitive, too scattered, too focused on mere survival to undertake such monumental feats of engineering and social organization. Our textbooks generally describe small groups living in temporary shelters, dependent on the ebb and flow of nature for their sustenance. The intellectual and technological leaps required for urban planning, advanced building techniques, and even basic societal administration were thought to be millennia away. But the Gulf of Cambay's site, with its compelling carbon dates, stands as a stark and undeniable contradiction to this deeply entrenched historical framework. It presents not just a challenge, but an almost defiant testament to an intelligence and organizational capacity that simply should not have existed at that time. It forces us to ask, if complex urban centers were forming 9,500 years ago, what does that mean for our entire understanding of the dawn of civilization? It implies a missing chapter, perhaps even an entire missing volume, in the story of humanity's past. The conventional timeline suggests a slow, arduous climb from caves to cities. The Cambay discovery, however, suggests that perhaps, at least in some regions, that climb was far more rapid, or even that a prior peak of development existed, only to be forgotten. It's a pivot point, forcing us to confront the possibility that what we consider prehistory might actually be a much more sophisticated and complex period than our current models allow. This isn't just about moving a date on a timeline. It's about fundamentally reevaluating the capabilities and achievements of our ancient ancestors. The implications ripple through every aspect of our historical understanding. Faced with such a profound contradiction, researchers have begun to explore a host of alternative theories, each seeking to explain this astonishing discovery within the broader narrative of human history. One prominent idea suggests that the Gulf of Cambay represents a truly ancient precursor to the later, well-documented Indus Valley civilization. Could it be a sophisticated pre-Harappan culture, perhaps the very seed from which the great cities of Mohenjo-Daro and Harappa eventually blossomed? This theory posits a missing link, an evolutionary step in urban development that occurred far earlier than previously believed, eventually submerged by rising sea levels at the end of the last ice age. Other theories venture further, speculating about a distinct and highly advanced civilization, perhaps unique to the Indian subcontinent, that flourished for a time and then vanished, leaving only these submerged remnants. What kind of societal structure would have been necessary to plan and build such a city? What technological knowledge, what tools, what level of coordinated effort would have been required to undertake construction on this scale almost 10 millennia ago? Some researchers even ponder whether such a society might have possessed an understanding of engineering and material science that we have yet to rediscover, a forgotten legacy lost to the mists of time and the engulfing waters. Could they have had unique methods for quarrying and transporting massive stones, perhaps through sophisticated use of buoyancy or advanced lever systems far beyond what we imagine for the era? The very existence of such a sophisticated urban environment at that time opens doors to truly speculative ideas. What if these people had developed rudimentary forms of writing or complex astronomical observations long before their credited invention? Could they have had complex spiritual practices or forms of governance that influenced later cultures? The fact that such a comprehensive urban plan could have been conceived and executed pushes the boundaries of what we thought was possible for humankind 9,500 years ago. It suggests a society that was not merely surviving but thriving, innovating, and building on a grand scale. This changes our entire perspective on the capabilities of the human mind and human organization in what we've often dismissed as prehistoric times. Some even consider if it was a culture that developed entirely independently, or perhaps one that was part of a wider, even global, network of advanced ancient peoples whose traces are now scattered across the world's submerged coastlines. It forces us to question if our current archaeological methods and paradigms are simply missing a vast amount of evidence that lies hidden beneath the world's oceans, awaiting discovery. The sheer depth of the site suggests a significant rise in sea levels since its habitation, further supporting the idea of an ancient, pre-diluvian society lost to geological shifts and climatic changes. The Gulf of Cambay challenges us to abandon our comfortable assumptions about history. If a city of this scale and sophistication truly existed 9,500 years ago, predating the earliest known cradles of civilization by millennia, what else have we overlooked? What other chapters of human ingenuity, what other epic stories of ancient ambition lie buried beneath the sands of time, or, more precisely, beneath the silent, shifting sediments of the ocean floor? The discovery in the Gulf of Cambay is more than just an archaeological find. It is a profound question mark at the very beginning of our human story, inviting us to reconsider everything we thought we knew about our collective past. It whispers of a deeper past, a more complex origin, and perhaps a forgotten golden age. What secrets might these ancient inhabitants have held, and what lessons could they still teach us if only we could decipher their watery legacy? The answers remain submerged, beckoning us to continue our quest for understanding. Our journey through the veiled depths has taken us from the precise, colossal forms of the coast of Japan to the puzzling pathways near Bimini and the astonishingly ancient structures beneath the Gulf of Cambay. Each discovery, a fragment of a larger puzzle, whispers of a past far more complex than we once imagined. But what if these isolated enigmas are not truly isolated at all? What if they are echoes, reverberating across vast oceans, of a connected, forgotten age? This question invites us to consider a global pattern, a scattering of sophisticated underwater ruins found in diverse locations across the planet. From the Mediterranean to the Pacific, beneath the waves, lie structures that seem to defy their supposed age. These sites, often marked by massive stonework, geometric precision, or evidence of advanced planning, collectively paint a picture that begins to challenge our established timelines of human ingenuity. They suggest a common thread, a shared heritage, lost not just to the mists of time, but to the rising tides of history. The mainstream understanding, the widely accepted narrative of how such sites came to be submerged, primarily points to the end of the last great ice age. As the immense glaciers that had held much of the world's water began to melt, over thousands of years, global sea levels slowly but inexorably rose. This gradual process, it is believed, submerged vast swathes of coastal land, including many ancient settlements that would have been thriving along these now sunken shorelines. It is a logical and scientifically supported explanation for for many submerged archaeological sites found relatively close to present-day coastlines, in shallow waters. Ancient port cities, fishing villages, or even simply land bridges that once connected continents would have been slowly claimed by the encroaching ocean. For many researchers, the presence of underwater structures is simply a testament to humanity's enduring habit of building near the water's edge and the Earth's dynamic geological history. They suggest that as glaciers receded, coastlines moved inland, and what were once dry land settlements became submerged, their remnants now waiting for discovery by curious divers and archaeologists. This gradual inundation would explain why we find evidence of human habitation beneath the waves, perfectly aligning with the known geological shifts of our planet's recent past. It's a compelling narrative, one that fits neatly within our understanding of post-glacial planetary changes. But there's a profound problem, a deeply unsettling discrepancy when we examine the true nature and depth of some of these underwater discoveries. The simple explanation of post-ice age sea level rise, while accounting for some submerged sites, struggles to reconcile with the immense depths at which others are found, or the sheer sophistication they display. We're not merely talking about rudimentary settlements that were slowly inundated. We are speaking of structures that exhibit monumental scale, incredible precision, and what appears to be advanced architectural planning, all at depths that suggest something far more dramatic than a gentle, millennia-long rise in sea level. Take the structures found in the Gulf of Cambay, for instance, which lie at depths of over 120 feet. For a settlement to be submerged to such a degree purely by post-glacial sea level rise, it would imply its existence during a period when human civilization was conventionally thought to be in its infancy, barely beyond hunter-gatherer societies. To build a city of such apparent scale and complexity at a time when humanity was, according to mainstream archaeology, just beginning to experiment with settled life, presents an almost impossible paradox. It's not just the depth, but the combination of depth and apparent sophistication that throws a wrench into the established timeline. Furthermore, the materials and construction methods employed at sites like Yonaguni, or even the regularity of the Bimini Road, seem to hint at a level of technological capability that simply isn't accounted for in the accepted archaeological record for such ancient periods. If these were merely primitive coastal villages, why the colossal stonework, the uncanny angles, the apparent quarrying techniques, or the geometric alignments that seem to stretch for miles? These are not the hallmarks of simple, early human settlements. They demand a re-evaluation, a but, that challenges the very foundations of our understanding of ancient history. What if, rather than a slow, gentle submergence, some of these sites hint at more rapid, perhaps even cataclysmic geological shifts? Could portions of land have subsided far more quickly than global sea level rise alone would dictate? Or, even more provocatively, could these structures have been built when those areas were already at significantly lower elevations, implying builders with capacities far exceeding what we currently attribute to such ancient eras? The sheer scale and depth of some of these discoveries suggest that if they are indeed man-made, then either our understanding of ancient geography is incomplete, or our perception of ancient human capabilities is profoundly flawed. The anomaly lies not just in their existence, but in their defiance of the expected. These profound anomalies have led some researchers to explore far more speculative and intriguing alternative theories. Could it be that these scattered underwater metropolises are not isolated, unconnected remnants, but rather fragments of a much larger, truly unified global civilization that existed long before the last ice age? This theory posits that a highly advanced culture with sophisticated engineering and perhaps even a global reach flourished in an epoch that has been entirely erased from our conventional historical records. Such a civilization would have possessed the knowledge and means to construct monumental sites that could withstand the passage of millennia, only to be swallowed by geological events or the vast expansion of the oceans. The concept suggests a golden age of humanity, a period when technological and societal development reached a peak, only to be brought to an abrupt end by a global cataclysm, perhaps a comet impact, intense volcanic activity, or an accelerated pole shift, events that could trigger rapid land subsidence or immense tidal waves far beyond the gradual sea level rise. Such a devastating event would not only submerge cities, but also obliterate much of the evidence of their existence, leaving behind only the most durable, colossal structures. The collective presence of sophisticated underwater ruins around the globe, from the Pacific to the Atlantic, could then be seen as the scattered archaeological fingerprints of this lost, unified culture. Other theories focus less on a single unified civilization and more on the idea of advanced ancient seafaring networks. What if, even in conventionally primitive times, certain cultures possessed an astonishing mastery of the seas, allowing them to explore and build in locations that we now consider incredibly remote? This might explain the precision and scale, suggesting a specialized maritime culture capable of moving colossal stones and constructing complex structures even in challenging environments. Perhaps these were not merely coastal settlements, but rather intricate systems of oceanic outposts, built by master mariners whose knowledge of the oceans and engineering capabilities far surpassed what historical consensus currently allows. Could these deep-sea architects have possessed technologies for underwater construction that we have yet to rediscover? The idea stretches the boundaries of conventional thought, yet the evidence demands that we consider it. Some theorists propose forgotten forms of ancient power or construction techniques, perhaps utilizing sound, levitation, or other methods to manipulate the massive stones we see at sites like Yonaguni or the colossal foundation stones that echo the scale of Bimini. What if the builders of these structures had an understanding of geology and hydrodynamics that allowed them to engineer with incredible foresight, knowing their creations would one day reside beneath the waves, or perhaps even designing them for such an environment from the outset? These are not mainstream ideas, certainly, but they offer pathways through the labyrinthine mystery. The implications of such theories are profound. If a global civilization or extensive seafaring network truly existed before the Ice Age, it would force us to completely rewrite our understanding of human origin. Technological development in the very timeline of history, it would suggest that humanity has risen and fallen, advanced and regressed in cycles far more dramatic and extensive than we currently acknowledge. The stories of lost continents and forgotten empires, often dismissed as myth and legend, might then hold kernels of truth, preserved in the collective unconscious as distant memories of a world transformed. As we ponder these possibilities, the vastness of the ocean holds its secrets close. The underwater metropolises, whether they be the enigmatic terraces off Japan, the puzzling pathways near Bimini, or the astonishingly ancient depths of the Gulf of Cambay, beckon us to look deeper. They challenge us to consider not just individual mysteries, but a profound, interconnected narrative. Are these isolated anomalies of geology, curious formations shaped by chance and erosion, beautiful but ultimately meaningless in the grand scheme of human history? Or, far more interestingly, are they fragments of a much larger, truly global story, a grand epic lost to the vast cold waters of our planet? The ocean floor, it seems, is not just a graveyard of ships, but potentially a monumental library of a forgotten past, waiting for us to learn how to read its most ancient texts as we journey through these submerged landscapes. From the geometric precision of Yonaguni to the astonishing age of the Gulf of Cambay, a profound challenge begins to emerge. It is not merely about finding ancient stones beneath the sea. It is about the quiet, insistent way these discoveries ask us to reevaluate the very bedrock of human history. These underwater metropolises, silent and still, pose a fundamental question to our established narratives of where we came from and how we evolved. They cast long shadows of doubt over assumptions held for centuries, whispering of a past far richer and perhaps far more complex than we have dared to imagine. The conventional understanding of human progress paints a clear, linear picture. For generations, we have been taught a narrative of steady, gradual ascent. From primitive hunter-gatherers, our ancestors slowly learned to cultivate the land, domesticate animals, and settle in villages. This led, over many thousands of years, to the first simple towns, then to rudimentary social structures, and eventually to the grand civilizations of Sumer, Egypt, and the Indus Valley. This progression, a slow and deliberate march from nomadic existence to monumental builders, is deeply ingrained in our historical consciousness. It suggests a clear, unbroken line of development, with each stage building painstakingly upon the last, a slow accumulation of knowledge and technology over time. In this view, complex societies, capable of sophisticated engineering and urban planning, are relatively recent phenomena, blossoming only a few millennia ago, but there is a problem with this neatly ordered explanation. The evidence uncovered from the ocean's depths, the very structures we have explored, suggests a different, more puzzling timeline. How do we reconcile the astonishing architectural sophistication of sites like Yonaguni, with its apparent carved steps and terraced platforms, or the unmistakable regularity of the Bimini Road, with the belief that humanity was still largely primitive at the time of their submersion? More critically, the carbon dating of organic materials from the Gulf of Cambay pushes back the timeline of a thriving, organized city to an incredible 9,500 years ago, a period conventionally assigned to scattered hunter-gatherer communities, long before the generally accepted dawn of agriculture and settled civilization. These finds imply highly organized, technologically capable societies existing not just earlier than believed, but perhaps even predating the very foundation of what we consider civilization, agriculture itself. It is a quiet disruption, a gentle but firm push against the comfortable linearity of our textbooks. The implications of such a discovery ripple outwards, inviting a host of speculative theories. Some researchers believe these sites hint at forgotten bursts of genius, periods where human innovation briefly soared before being lost to the mists of time or the unforgiving embrace of the sea. Could humanity's path not be a steady incline, but a cyclical journey of rise and fall, of advanced ages giving way to periods of decline or even forgotten knowledge? The idea arises that perhaps the human story is not one of continuous, unbroken progress, but of intermittent flares of brilliance, extinguished and rekindled across millennia. Some ponder if this suggests a different kind of human, endowed with an innate knowledge or understanding that has since faded from our collective memory. There are those who even propose the existence of an original, advanced mother culture, a singular global civilization that flourished in a distant past, from which all later known civilizations derive their foundational knowledge and myths. Perhaps the sophisticated geometric principles found in ancient sites across the globe are not mere coincidences but echoes of a shared, much older legacy, fragments of a once unified understanding of the world and its natural laws now scattered and submerged. Could these deep ocean ruins be the very roots of our oldest legends, the whispers of an almost unimaginable past, preserved only in stone and sea? If our timeline is fundamentally flawed, if truly organized and capable societies existed thousands of years earlier than we currently concede, what else have we misinterpreted about early humanity? This brings us to an even more profound question. If such advanced societies indeed existed, why are they hidden and forgotten, buried beneath the waves, and absent from our historical records? The sheer scale of what is lost beneath the oceans, and its global distribution, hints at something far more profound than mere localized disasters. It suggests a truly transformative event, or series of events, that wiped clean the slate of human memory on an unprecedented scale. The standard view of history acknowledges localized natural disasters, earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, tsunamis, that have certainly impacted communities throughout time. We understand that cities can be destroyed, populations displaced, and knowledge lost in specific regions. However, this mainstream perspective generally views human progress as an accumulating body of knowledge, a collective inheritance passed down through generations, rarely if ever completely eradicated on a global scale. We assume that even if one culture fell, its discoveries would eventually be rediscovered or independently developed elsewhere, ensuring the forward march of civilization. The idea of a global advanced past being entirely erased from conscious memory challenges this fundamental assumption of cumulative progress, but there is a profound problem with applying this localized perspective to the underwater metropolises we have encountered. The sheer number of sophisticated submerged structures found across various continents and oceans, and their consistent antiquity, defy explanation through isolated regional events. This global pattern, the deep age of some of these sites, and their profound state of preservation beneath the sea, hints at something far more catastrophic and widespread. It is here that the commonality of global flood myths across disparate cultures, from the Sumerian epic of Gilgamesh to the biblical account of Noah, from the Hindu Puranas to the indigenous stories of the Americas and Australia, becomes more than just folklore. It becomes a tantalizing, almost unsettling piece of the puzzle. These observations open the door to a series of speculative theories about how such an advanced past could have been so utterly erased. Theories range from the dramatic to the deeply philosophical. Could a rapid and devastating cataclysmic event, or a series of events, have been responsible for wiping out these advanced ancient civilizations? Beyond the gradual sea level rise we understand from the end of the last ice age, some ponder if more sudden, violent geological shifts, perhaps even an asteroid or comet impact, could have triggered a global deluge or rapid tectonic subsidence, simultaneously submerging vast land masses and the cultures that thrived upon them. The Younger Dryas impact theory, for instance, posits a celestial event around 12,800 years ago that could have dramatically altered Earth's climate and topography, potentially ushering in an era of chaos and a global flood that effectively reset humanity's technological clock. Could it be that humanity almost hit a reset button, a point where widespread knowledge, technology, and social structures were brought to the brink of total annihilation? And if so, were the surviving fragments of these advanced societies the seed cultures for what we now consider the first civilizations, carrying faint echoes of a much grander, older heritage? The global flood myths in this context are no longer seen as mere allegories or local legends, but as the fragmented cultural memories of a true global deluge, a memory etched into the collective unconscious of humanity, passed down through oral traditions, tales attempting to make sense of an unimaginable loss, or perhaps even warnings. Some researchers propose that these myths are not just stories, but attempts by survivors to pass on their history, to hint at a time when the world was different and human capabilities were far greater. There are even whispers among certain esoteric circles that secret societies or ancient orders, operating outside conventional historical timelines, might have preserved fragments of this lost wisdom, guarding it until humanity was ready to rediscover its true origin. If knowledge and history can be lost so completely beneath the waves, swallowed by the ocean's silent embrace, what else awaits discovery? Ready to reshape our understanding of humanity's true origins? The deep, dark waters hold not just ancient stones, but perhaps the very key to who we are and who we once were.